right now, I think there's a huge opportunity for organizations that can help companies do more with their current environment. That's why I'm super excited about our channel, very excited about what our company is doing, helping organizations get the most out of their IT environment and make incremental improvements with that business outcome in mind, as opposed to, hey, make a huge CapEx purchase or, hey, sign up for a huge long-term engagement. There's a lot of flexibility. I think you got to be nimble in the next couple of months.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Incident Report presented by Quest Technology Management. I'm Paul Burke, Director of Technology Communications. Every week, I'm joined by VP of Sales and Partnerships, Adam Burke. The Incident Report brings you conversations with thought leaders, business innovators, and channel mavericks to help you stay productive and agile in a changing technology landscape. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Incident Report. We are at episode 62, which we were just talking about. Just feels like yesterday we were episode 1. How things have changed. But what remains the same is I do not do this show alone. I am half your hosts. My name is Paul Burke. Glad you're here. Adam Burke, sitting across from me. Adam, how are you doing?
Good, Paul. Excited to be here. Episode 62. Kicking off. The world came back to life. I feel like people have kind of gotten out of their holiday pause, French Riviera summer. People are getting back to work. It's nice. Production's coming back online. It's been a good week so far.
Adam, we should probably, I think it benefits us to talk about like what is this podcast? It is an opportunity for us to sit down, talk about what's happening in the channel and the stories that we think everybody needs to know.
Absolutely. We talk about what we're hearing in the channel, what we're seeing. We use the excuse of reading a couple of our friends' articles in the different industry rags that are out there. And I mean rags in the most respectful way as possible. Channel Futures, Channel EDE Business. If you want to be a sponsor, please let us know. Love them. They're our friends. And we like to hear. We like to hear what they're thinking. We like to hear what people are saying out there. And we like to share our thoughts and perspective on it with a little Quest twist every now and then.
And if you're still having a hard time wrapping your mind around what the show's about, think of it as a C3PO and R2D2. I am C3PO, where I'm just saying a lot of words. Am I helpful? Do I know a lot? Not as much as R2D2. That's Adam. He kind of really brings the knowledge. He is going to help more. And I just kind of go along for the ride and say a lot of words.
And I've been known to wander off into the desert from time to time as well. It's a great droid analogy there, Paul. Great droid analogy. I like it.
That is true. You love going for runs in the desert.
I do. Running in the desert's a good time. Bring water, shade, and stay hydrated. Heat stroke is not a joke, but yeah, like to keep it real with the Tatooine kind of references there. That's good.
Worked on a level I didn't even think about. So, okay. First up, let's get into it. We're jumping over to channelfutures.com. Adam, you circled this article. I think it was really interesting. I say that every week, but you're always finding interesting articles. Telarus CEO Adam Edwards says, margin, resources, not an either or for partners. So this was an interview. Channel Futures sat down with Adam, asked a few questions. What did you think? What did you take away from this?
I think what he was bringing up was really the TSDs and, the technology service brokers and distributors out there are leaning into supporting what the agents and what the partner community is asking for, from pre-sales capabilities, from support, technical leads, and a variety of different kind of skill sets in different ways. Telarus has leaned into like a solution view platform. And just so everyone knows, we're a supplier to this community. Quest has been a supplier in the channel for coming up on 13 years now. And we built out our channel program. And really what that means is we help people out there who are trying to bring technology to their customers through partnerships with the Telaruses and the Avants and Inteluses of the world through their different channels to their agent communities. And what Adam's talking about here is, hey, you can maintain profitability, you can maintain margins while at the same time leveraging what the TSDs are doing and what they're brokering and adding from a solutions perspective. So they're helping the agents maintain their margins, maintain their profitability for their businesses, while at the same time bringing partners like Quest and our capabilities to bear.
So it was a good article. Anything surprise you while reading through all the questions?
It was kind of cool to see the Channel Futures guys. They talked to on the second or third flip here They're talking about some of the acquisitions and also some of the investments in AI. What would an article about technology be these days without conversations around AI? So Select Communications, which is a partner out there in the channel that works with TSDs, mentioned their thoughts around what the community is doing from an investment in AI standpoint. Personally, I've been waiting for someone to ask the uncomfortable question, like what happens when artificial intelligence starts running a selection process for the best of breed technology out there,
Mm.
and are agents going to lean into AI? Are they going to see it as a threat? There's that joke where it shows someone smiling like, "Hey, AI can do my job for me," and then it has that kind of deadpan look face, like, "Oh crap, AI can do my job for me." That whole concept, like I'm kind of waiting for, hey, how are people going to use that in the technology advisor world? Are they going to leverage it for, hey, ask the question to Chat GPT, what's the best SD-WAN product for a middle-sized enterprise with 20 sites and these carriers on net? Could Chat GPT or a large language model deal with that kind of question and give you good feedback, or were they going to come back with mumbo jumbo? I don't know.
So are we just kind of like moving deck chairs around the Titanic and being like, oh, could it happen? Instead of like, when is it going to happen?
I don't know. I think for some of the back office stuff and some of the services that aren't necessarily that, they're not relevant to, they're just kind of plug and play and they can be repeated.
Mhm.
I think AI and language models could probably replace a lot of that labor in those different areas. The same way you saw a lot of people offshore service offerings or offshore back office operations, or we've all dealt with overseas help desk services or people that push you over to maybe India or the Philippines or somewhere in the South Pacific or anything, Vietnam. A lot of people outsource that kind of stuff. So why why wouldn't they outsource it to a machine? It's
Mhm.
probably there. I don't think people like to talk about it, but it's there. It's definitely an option.
Yeah, that's a great point. People probably don't want to talk about it. So, great thing that we brought it up. We're trying to get more listeners, so why not bring up the topics nobody wants to talk about or listen
I-
to?
If you're not squirming in your chair a little bit, I mean, are you even really having a conversation, or you just kind of talking past each other? You gotta get a little uncomfortable to grow. It's okay.
That's what we're about here. We're about growth. Adam, what
Is
is a market maker? Because as I was reading this, Telarus was talking about market makers. What is that, and is that something that's just exclusive to them? Is that something that is more universal?
Great question, Paul. From a market maker perspective, the Telarus of the world and the different technology service brokers, what they do is they're bringing in new service providers while at the same time protecting their partner and agent base when those suppliers are getting introduced to their customers. So what they do is they manage, basically, they've been doing this for, this industry has been around for 20, 25 plus years, long time, helping to basically connect the dots between end users and trusted advisors and partners out there with the different suppliers who can address that need. So they basically create an ecosystem, if you will. I hate that word ecosystem, but it is. They create an environment where people who are trying to solve customers' problems can have access to solution providers like Quest who can come in and address that problem. And then what Telarus does is they help protect their partners' commissions and ongoing residual income, because a lot of these partners, they don't charge for pre-sales, they don't charge for assessments, they don't charge for professional services. A lot of these partners don't even have the ability to invoice. So as
Hmm.
odd as that sounds, coming from the VAR background that we have, like our entire initial business was built on drop shipping equipment and billing for that equipment and making sure that those payments were made and get a PO. A lot of these partners don't have that skill set. They're basically Salesforce and agents who go connect the dots. They have a market available and they connect the dots to a supplier, and then they're getting paid by the supplier. So Telarus kind of makes sure that those two parties work well together and grow well together, which is awesome. We've had a channel strategy for the last 13 years. It's our national growth strategy. It's one of the fastest growing portions of our business. It actually is the fastest growing portion of our business. So the channel is exploding right now with opportunity, and these guys are a big part of it.
Thanks for that breakdown. Any other bits of wisdom that you pulled from this article that you're like, we need to know, you need to know about this?
They talked about mergers and acquisitions, always a fun topic. Consolidation. There was a good interview. I think the guys over at AirSpring hosted kind of a market powwow with all the different master agents out there, and they all kind of got together. And Peter, who was on the podcast earlier, he hosted that. I think it was sponsored by AirSpring. And then Peter put that together and had all the different leaders on there. That was a great one. I think it's recorded, and I think people have availability to it. So if you want to kind of hear the different perspectives of all the different technology service brokers out there, or TSDs.
You sent it to me and I watched it. It is great. So I will find the link and I will put that in the description.
Yeah, put that in the description and take a listen to it. It was good. Adam was on there, Drew was on there, Sandler Partners was on there. All the major technology service brokers were on there. It was kind of fun. I like Peter. I get along well with Peter. He's a very realist, has real conversations about things. And there were a couple portions in that interview. We'll put the link out, where Peter was kind of trying to have a direct kind of tactical conversation, and some of the channel leadership wasn't quite ready to have a tactical conversation. They kind of wanted to keep the conversation at the 30,000 foot rose-colored glasses, everything's great kind of model, which is good, and that's what we all love to hear. But yeah, check it out. It's a good session to listen to, I think.
Up next, we have FBI cyber agents want a relationship with MSPs, officials say. This is on the channel company, crn.com. The article begins, the ideal is for the service providers to be on a first-name basis with their local FBI cyber supervisor, says Richard Murray, the Bureau's Dallas Cyber Task Force head. I thought this was a great article. We've had some experience working with the FBI. I think I can say that. I can say that, Adam, right?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, everyone's had experience working with the FBI, whether they know it or not.
Great point. What were your thoughts on this?
From a visibility standpoint, cybersecurity attacks, different trends, what people are seeing, it makes sense that the FBI and the cybersecurity division wants to get to know and be exposed to managed service providers. We've escalated to and reached out to the FBI on multiple occasions due to our incident response and incident containment practice. And the reason is because there are state actors, there are bad actors, and there are ramifications for MSPs dealing with those bad actors and those state actors when it comes to transacting ransomware or any type of malware engagement. If you pay a ransom, for example, to an organization that is hosted or is representative or is affiliated with people on the, let's just say, the no-fly list as far as you're able to do business with them. So it's, Russia, for example, or some other areas in the Eastern bloc of countries and areas that we're not allowed to do business with, maybe terrorists, organizations that are state sponsors of terror, those types of things. The FBI and the federal government has restrictions on doing business or paying any type of transaction with those people, and moving Bitcoin from your Bitcoin wallet, to pay a ransom it used to be bad enough that you're being held hostage, but now you got to make sure, hey, am I committing a felony? Inadvertently, or ignorance is not an excuse for breaking the law. If you reach out and pay someone who has encrypted your data in order to get that encryption key back. A lot of people do that and they don't understand, like, hey, I'm paying someone who's on a certain identified list as far as people you're not allowed to do business with, according to the FBI. So it's good to know. It's good to have escalation procedures. It's good to have contacts, and it's good to have those relationships in place. We've seen notifications come from our local division, and it's a best practice. We want to make sure that we're communicating different vectors, different threats, different things that we're seeing from bad actors, and we see it every day. MSPs see threats every single day, and MSPs are big targets because they support thousands of users, right? If you're gonna, I forget the analogy that everyone uses, but there was a gentleman who used to rob banks. They asked him, well, why do you rob banks? And he said, well, that's where the money is. And that's why do people target MSPs? Well, MSPs are connected to a lot of other targets. So if you're going to go for an opportunity, you want to hit MSPs. So it makes sense that the FBI fosters relationships within those groups.
Yeah, and I love that the FBI will forward you information, letting you know as an MSP what's out there and what's happening and the threats you need to be aware of. That was nice. I didn't know the FBI is doing that. I thought that was very kind.
Oh, it's their community outreach program, Paul. They're just stellar gents all around stellar gents. Actually, some of my buddies from the Army, infantry guys back in the day, they're actually running some cyber divisions out here. Haven't talked to them in a couple of years and end up crossing paths for part of their cybersecurity division. That was cool. So it's a community. It's a great group of people. They're there to help, and they're communicating back and forth with MSPs, with people out there who are seeing threats, and with the cybersecurity environment and community.
That's like a heartwarming story, a nice story about like, hey, let's kind of connect, let's kind of share information.
Along the heartwarming story, we had a cool little recognition of our president and CEO Tim Burke, and our company got recognized. There's some soccer fields next door to our headquarters, and we'll put the little. It's a nice little feel good story in the show notes. But the Roseville Fire Department, and there's a life and safety organization. Basically, a gentleman had a heart attack lunch hour at the soccer field next to our headquarters. Tim likes to walk from our headquarters to, there's a nice little nugget market over there.
The man loves a good walk.
He does love a good walk. He does love a good walk. Yes, absolutely. A lot of good thinking on those walks. But he saw that they were in distress. They asked him if we had an AED. He ran back to headquarters, grabbed the bright red, AED that we had right there by the network operations center. They were doing CPR, so they did the right thing, and they had immediately called 911. So the EMTs were en route. They got the AED squared away, and hey, the gentleman who had a heart issue was alive and kicking, and at the soccer field the other day where they came and recognized all the parties involved in that little chain of events there. So that was really cool. That was a feel good story. I love that kind of stuff. Love seeing those good things happen when people are prepared. So it was cool.
That is a really great story. Great chain of events where everybody was able to contribute and help, and really good outcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're moving over to, well, no, we're staying. We're staying at the channel company. New article, Salesforce to hike prices in August by the average of 9%. And I love this article. It front loads the information like, hey, at Salesforce, we've been investing $20 billion and we haven't raised the price for 7 years. Why do we mention that? Because we're about to raise the price now. So I really love how they front loaded all of it. Like, hey, we've done 22 releases, new products, 20 billion in research and development, and now you owe us. So,
and you're welcome.
You're welcome.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's funny. They like to do that. They did the same thing. Microsoft did the same thing a year and a half ago when they changed the rules of engagement for new customer experience and all that kind of stuff. And hey, they always love to front load it with, because of all of our developments, this is what's happening next. But from a 9% per user average, that's going to be coming up in August. This caught my attention just because even software as a service, things are getting more expensive across the board. It's just the nature of the current economy we're in right now. And I know everyone's eyes kind of gloss over when we talk about interest rates and inverted yield curves and things like that. But there's been an inverted yield curve for months now. And an inverted yield curve means that the cost of 2-year money is more expensive than the cost of 10-year money, which rarely happens. Usually you have cost of 10, at least for the last 14 years, the cost of 2-year money was anywhere between 1% and 3%. And the cost of 10-year money was maybe a couple points higher than that, right? So the yield curve was what's called steepening. What happens when it inverts is usually it's a signal that people are kind of worried about what's going to happen next. So short-term money, 2-year duration debt spikes up pretty high. I think it's well over 5% now. I think after the Fed's last hike, I think it's over 5.5%. And 10-year money is less expensive. I'm doing air quotes right now, less expensive in terms of interest rates. So 2-year money costs more to finance, and 10-year money is shorter. So you have an inverted yield curve. Usually it's steepening. That's a good signal. Inverted, bad signal. And the problem is there is still some inflation going on. So things are costing more. The labor market is still extremely tight. So people like Salesforce, everyone, your gas company to your software as a service provider like Salesforce, is having to raise prices. Labor market's tight, cost of energy is going up, cost of supply chain and features are going up, just cost of common goods are going up. So inflation's going up, yield curve's inverted. I know we just had a feel-good story about the gentleman who survived, but maybe this isn't a feel-good story about what's happening next. Could be a recession, could be something bad, don't know. But with Salesforce, they're jacking up prices a little bit by about 9%, but that's basically in line with year over year inflation, and at least what we've seen in the last 12 to 18 months. So not that big of a shock in my opinion, but to their credit, they have added a lot of different features to their platform, and it has been helping people out for a long time from a subscription standpoint.
Adam, let me speak directly to your ego right now. I have listened to so many podcasts about money and investing, and I have never understood the inverted yield curve. Never understood it. I get it. I understand it. Right now I understand it. So thank you.
Anytime. Yeah. No, that's I got a great, I think I graduated UC Davis with an econ degree with a solid 2.8 GPA. So anytime I can dumb down something for you, I'm happy to do it, because C's get degrees, Paul. Just remember that. C's get degrees.
Well, and I graduated with a communications degree, which means I can look you in the eye and say, I'm confused. I don't understand. And I can say it in a way where you understand that.
Inverted yield curve, not a good sign, but here's the weird thing. About 40% of our money supply was created in the last 2 years.
That can't have bad ramifications.
Well, and no one knows what's going to happen. So like anytime you listen to CNBC or Bloomberg or read these articles and people pontificate, like even me just saying a minute ago, the inverted yield curve could be a bad signal. It could be. But anytime you listen to someone who acts like they know what's going to happen next in the economy, grab your wallet, make sure you're holding on to your wallet, because they're probably going to try to rip you off, or they're just full of it, because no one knows what's going to happen next. Absolutely no one knows. This is an unprecedented thing that's going on. No one has any idea about what's going to happen next. They got some thoughts. Like historically, an inverted yield curve for 6 months has been a huge red flag for a recession. But like everyone's talking about, labor market is still extremely tight. So those are two counter signaling trends right now. So I think just continue to make prudent decisions, continue to look out for what's working within your environment. And right now, I think there's a huge opportunity for organizations that can help companies do more with their current environment. That's why I'm super excited about our channel, very excited about what our company is doing, helping organizations get the most out of their IT environment and make incremental improvements with that kind of that business outcome in mind, as opposed to, hey, make a huge CapEx purchase, or hey, sign up for a huge long-term engagement. There's a lot of flexibility. I think you got to be nimble in the next couple of months.
I realize since we're not sponsored, maybe every week, Adam, we should say this episode sponsored by Quest Technology Management, and then just do like a little commercial about Quest Technology Management.
That's brilliant.
That's our sponsor.
For next week's episode, what you need to do is you go to ChatGPT and write a 30-second piece of material to close out the episode. This week brought to you by Quest Technology Management Cybersecurity Services. And we'll do a different one every single week.
And ChatGPT, make it entertaining. We want something that's gonna like really dazzle us.
Yeah. And then no one will catch on to that at all. That'll be good.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of things to like add into the podcast, we were gonna do, and I still think we should do, the Jocko book hour. You love them. You're always citing them. So I think maybe like every week we read a chapter and then kind of a quick dissemination, I think that's the right word, of the chapter. Like, let's talk about it. Like, what can we take from this into our channel?
I think that's a great idea. And by the way, I love that I'm kind of known in some of our channel partnerships as a big fan of Jocko, because Jocko was on the Mayans the other day as a jiu-jitsu instructor. And I got multiple texts. I got a text from a couple people saying, hey, you got to watch the latest Mayans episode, because I think you'd be a fan of who is on from a cameo standpoint. And sure enough, Jocko was on there snapping a dude's arm at an arm bar as the Mayan drug kingpins walked into the jiu-jitsu gym. That was a fun episode.
One of these years, I'm going to get you a big Jocko poster with his signature. I'll be like, oh, this is for my brother. Be sure to sign it. Love, Jocko, to Adam.
I don't think he signs it that way, but yeah, that'd be sweet. That'd be good.
Adam, as always, thank you for all the insight, and everybody listening, thank you for being a part of the show and being here. If you have any questions, if we can help you, you can always reach out to us, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks so much for listening. The Incident Report is brought to you by Quest Technology Management. With over 40 years of experience, Quest is a leading technology integrator working seamlessly with your staff and systems to achieve your IT goals. Learn more about everything they do at questsys.com. And if you have questions or suggestions for the podcast, you can always email Adam and myself at theincidentreport@questsys.com. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.